Hello and welcome to session 1 of the Brand in Demand Bootcamp. I'm Shanta Prince, and I help coaches to build personal brands, create high ticket offers, and get paying clients. Hey there. Hey, everybody. So I'm excited about today because I've been talking to some of you and messaging some of you, and you already know that I love what I do. I love to teach. So I'm excited to pour out some information for you today. Thank you, Nicole. I'm so glad you made it. So I'm so glad to just pour out what I know. So this is one of the things that I'm super passionate about doing, and that is sharing knowledge. But I want to tell you that no matter how much information I share with you today and throughout the rest of this week, and you will get a ton of information, that information is only really valuable if you go and implement it. You have to couple that information with implementation in order for you to be as successful as you want to be. So, whatever we're talking about this week, make sure you do the work. So, every day after we finish our live sessions, there'll be some homework posted inside of the group. This is not called a boot camp for nothing. And I've been to boot camp for real. So, we're going to put in the work this week, but everything that we're going to be doing this week is going to build a strong foundation for those of you who are getting started with your businesses and you're ready to start coaching and mentoring. This week is going to lay the foundation for you to finish off this year strong and go into 22 focused and ready, knowing exactly what you need to do. So today is all about purposeful branding. So I want to talk about how you can build a brand around who you already are. This day and age, we think we have to be something that we're not, and is so far from the truth. You can build a brand around who you already are and how you're already designed. You don't need anything else. I'm going to say that one more time. You don't need anything else. So if you've been waiting and waiting and waiting until you get this thing, or until you get that thing, or until this happens, or until you get your website up, I'm here to tell you, I'm the messenger for today, and I'm telling you that you don't need anything else. You can get started today with building a brand. So I'm going to talk about what a brand is, and then we're going to get into the details of how you can build your brand in a way that's purposeful so that you can do meaningful work. When your work means something to you, it doesn't feel like work. You have to kind of separate things, because you're like, oh, I love this so much that I get so into it that somebody has to tap me on the shoulder and say, okay. Like my clients and I joke about this all the time, because when we get in our sessions are supposed to be an hour, but we go over sometimes, because if someone has questions or if there's something that we need to focus on, we go in, right? And I just start getting in this flow, and I just start teaching and pouring out. And so it's because my work means something to me. This is valuable to me, and I love what I do. And it's because I'm doing what I'm designed to do. Okay. So the way that you're designed gives clues about what you're supposed to be doing, right? And the things that you've been through in life also positions you to be able to do the things that you need to do. Okay. I was just talking to Imani, and we were talking about how the things that she's been through has prepared her to be able to do the work that she's doing, regardless of what other people are saying about her. Regardless of people saying, oh, you need this certificate, you need that certificate, you need this qualification. The things that she has been through in life has prepared her to do what she's able to do. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that against any area or any niche that actually requires a certification. I'm not saying don't, I wouldn't tell a doctor don't go to school, right? But if you're doing something where you actually need a certification, then you should do that. Okay. Now, I will tell you that to be a coach or to be a mentor, you do not need a certification. Okay. So if you've been thinking, oh, I need a certification, you do not need a certification to get started. Now, I always suggest and recommend that you always want to be on a path to bettering yourself and getting smarter and getting more skilled at what it is that you're doing. And that's one thing that you want to do. You want to constantly invest in yourself. You want to get the trainings and the pay for the coaching and the support that you need. However, it's not something that is required, okay, for you to get started. Now, if you want to get some certifications, that's perfectly okay, but don't let that hold you back any longer. I had a lady email me. I always tell this story. I had this lady email me, and she was looking at my my biography. And she said, I saw that you went to Kingdom University School of Ministry, and I saw that you have this certification. Should I get those certifications? And I looked at her name, and it was her name. And then she had like the whole alphabet. Hey, Deshante. She had the whole alphabet behind her name. Y'all know, y'all seen them when you have a person's name and then you have like the different letters to show their degrees and their certifications after their name. She had like 3 or 4 different sets of codes after her name. And when she asked me, should I get those, should I go to those classes and get those certifications? I looked at her name and all of those codes that she already had after her name, and I emailed her back and I said, you do not need another certification. You need to start helping people. You need to start serving people, because serving people, that's going to be the fastest way to get you to the top and to get you some clients, is to really start serving and helping people. You do not need another certification. If you're like me, I have 4 college degrees only because I love school, right? But don't let those things, don't look at other people and say, well, this person has 25 degrees and that person has 10 certifications. You outserve your competitors. And that's how you're going to make it to the top. Okay. So don't sit here and keep waiting on things that you don't have. I'll always say this, that we have to learn how to operate in excellence instead of operating in perfection. And excellence is doing the best you can with what you have right now. That's what excellence is. Perfectionism is when you're waiting and waiting and waiting for something that you don't have. And then you never get started because you're still waiting. Okay. So excellence is doing the best you can with what you have right now. Okay. If you're in perfectionism, you're waiting and you're waiting and you're never going to get started if you don't break out of that perfectionism. Okay. So we want to operate in excellence. So if you have your game plans, make sure you've got your game plans. If you don't have your game plan, just let me know. I can send it to you right via DM. So this is what the game plan looks like. This game plan is the workbook that we're going to be using all week, and it has a lot of stuff in there. This is what today's page in the game plan looks like. And in the back of the game plan, I have a ton of branding and business building resources for you. Systems and programs and apps that I know of. Either I know my clients have used them or I have used them, so I'm aware of these. I generally don't recommend things that I haven't used. So most of the stuff that you see on here, I've used them or my clients have used them. Okay, so there's a list of resources. If you're looking for certain things that you need to get done, somebody couldn't print theirs. Oh no. You know what I do? Honestly, I have a printer at home. And I printed mine at home. I print out every time I do this workshop, I print mine out. But I actually go and have it printed because I just like how it looks. So I'm like, and it inspires me. So I actually go to the UPS store. I'm like, hey, can you print my workbook? So I'm that extra, y'all. But y'all may not be as extra as I am. So if you really want to have it print out, you may have to send it somewhere and let them print it out for you. It doesn't cost too much, maybe a couple of dollars. So in your game plans, I'm going to teach directly from your game plans. And there's a lot of fill in the blanks because this is work, right? We're working. And let me tell you, this day and age, there's so many people who want the success, but they don't want to do the work. We're working this week. This is your week to ask questions, to get help with the things that you need help with, to get clarity with the things you need clarity on. So don't sit back and watch from the shadows, right? Get in it, get involved, get active, and get the help that you need, because that's what we're here for, okay? So just a few things that I want to cover before we dive into the content. The first thing is, if you're not able to catch us live, you can catch us at 7 o'clock. We'll be doing replays at 7 o'clock every night. It's really important to do your best to show up live, though, because that's when all the magic is happening, right? All the amazingness is happening. And you get to get your questions answered in real time. So do your best to show up live. But if you can't make it live, you can actually go and catch a replay. I'll run a live replay at 7 o'clock at night, or you can watch the video anytime you want. Hey, Sherry. So that's that about being live. So the replays will be up until next Tuesday, and then they'll all be deleted. So make sure you get those replays in if you miss them. And it's so important to watch these in order because each day builds on the next day. So the stuff that we're going to cover today, tomorrow, you're going to need the information that you worked on today for tomorrow and so forth. So this whole week is very strategically designed. So you got to make sure you're watching the sessions and doing the work because each assignment is going to build on the next one. So don't forget, after we finish here, if you go inside of the group, you'll be able to catch the homework assignment and you can be able to submit your responses. So If you don't have your game plan, again, just send me a quick message and let me know that you still need that game plan. And if you have a friend, right, we know things are better with friends. If you have a friend that you know can benefit from this information, invite your friend to the group so that they can get this information. If you're watching me from the public Facebook page, do me a favor and go ahead and hit the share button and help me spread the message and get this out to as many ladies who are looking to build a purposeful brand as possible. So send me a message this week if you have anything that comes up. Most people already know. If you're just meeting me for the first time, nice to meet you virtually. But most people who are already in my space, they know they can send me a message. Like, I'm pretty responsive when it comes to sending me a Facebook message or Instagram message. If you have any questions throughout the week, feel free to send me a message, okay? Because I really want you to get the most out of this workshop. I told you that if you show up and give me your time, I promise to bring the value. Okay, so, and I'm gonna keep my promise. So let's get out your game plans. I'm gonna get into the content of talking about what a brand actually is. So the first thing is that so many people feel like a brand is, when we usually talk about branding, we usually only focus on like the colors and the website, and we want to get the perfect business cards, and we focus on the wrong things when it comes to branding. Now that is branding, right? That's visual branding, that's brand design. And so there's so many different aspects of branding. And I want you to understand this, because when you see someone who says they're a branding strategist or they're a branding specialist, you really have to pay attention to what kind of branding they focus on. I do not do brand design. However, I have a clean eye. That's what my designer friends tell me. I have a clean eye. And if your branding is off, I can identify it pretty quickly and say, oh, these are not the right colors for you, or you need to shift this and move this here. Now, I do not focus on brand design and finding the right colors and things like that. What I focus on is brand messaging. That is where my anointing flows when it comes to branding, because your message has to be on point, especially right now. We're living in a time where everybody is distracted. People have a lot going on, and all of us have been hit with some things that we never expected, or that we did not know was going to hit us this year. And so because of that, so many people are distracted and focused on other things. And so now it's getting even harder to get your ideal client's attention and keep it. And so in order to market properly and to grab your ideal client's attention, your messaging has to be on point. That is where I come in. I will help you to get your messaging on point so that it's clear. And we're going to talk about that this week. Tomorrow, our whole focus is going to be on getting your brand messaging right. Okay. So that is my focus. I focus on brand messaging. Okay. So your brand is so much more than the colors that you choose. It's so much more than your website. Okay. Your brand is powerful. And you need to see your brand as bigger than you, because your brand is a movement. Some of you have an entire movement bottled up on the inside of you. And when you start speaking and when you unleash that thing, it's going to shake up some stuff in a good way. Can you imagine how many people are waiting on you to speak up? I guarantee you right now, you probably have about 5 clients around you right now that are waiting for you to put your offer together so they can work with you. I know what I'm talking about. You probably have 5 clients right now around you, in your circle, in your midst. Okay. So your brand, I'm in the game plan. I'm on the first key point. So everything about today is written in first person, right? Because today is all about you. So today's session is all about getting in your own head and dealing with those thoughts. Okay. So the first key point is, my brand is the promise that I make to my clients or customers. My brand is the promise I make to my clients or customers. Okay. Your brand is a promise. And everything that you do around that is reinforcing the promise that you make. Here's another way to see it. Your brand is the outcome that you promise that you can help your clients to achieve. How is someone's life going to be different when they work with you? That's what your brand is. Your brand is the promise or the outcomes that you help people to achieve. Now, you guys know that these days we are so skeptical, right? I was at the grocery store a few weeks ago, and this old gentleman, he was a shorter, older gentleman, and I think he just saw me by myself, and he wanted to help. And so I'm loading my groceries up on the belt, and he had his stuff already loaded. And then he started loading my stuff up on the belt. And so, listen, I'm telling y'all how skeptical we are these days because we know how much is going on in the world, right? And we've seen how much stuff has happened, right? And so I'm looking like, what is this guy doing? And so he helped me to load my groceries up. And then I checked out and I went outside and I opened up the back of my car to start putting the groceries in the car. And guess what he did? He came over and started helping me load the groceries up. So this whole time I'm like, and y'all know I was in the Navy. So I'm like my senses are a little bit heightened in certain situations. So I'm watching him, I'm watching his hands, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I could take him. Like I'm sizing him up. Like, okay, if he's trying something, I can take him. Like he's short, like he's older. I'm like, I can handle this guy, right? So, but come to find out, he was just a really nice person and he just wanted to help. And after he finished helping me, he drove by another lady and was like, hey, do you need help with your groceries? He was just a nice guy, right? But the whole time I was looking and I was like, and then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I can't get my phone out and call anybody. I don't have my pepper spray. Like I'm thinking about all this stuff, right? And so I said all that to say that these days people are skeptical. And what you want to do when you're building your brand is every single day you want to constantly reinforce your promise. That's going to come out in everything that you do around your brand. Your promise is like an umbrella, right? If this is your promise, right? Everything that you do should be under that umbrella. It should line up with what that promise is. That's going to keep you focused. It's going to keep you streamlined because now once you get that brand statement, once you get clear on what your promise is, you're going to start being able to say no to things that don't line up with what your promise is, okay? And that don't line up with your purpose. Because we're talking about building a brand that lines up with your purpose, that lines up with your gifts, that lines up with who you already are. And things outside of that, it's a no. Especially now. Nobody has time to be doing things that we're not called to do. Purpose-driven people operate differently. We're not getting into any and everything. We're only focused on those things that matter to us right now. And that's important. So your brand is the promise that you make to your clients. Now, I like Starbucks. I buy Starbucks coffee. And as a matter of fact, right now I'm on a 21-day cleanse. Basically I'm vegan for the next 21 days. And so one of the things that I always experience when I do this is like on day 3, I get like a caffeine withdrawal headache. Like my head hurts on day 3. But after that, the next day, I usually wake up with so much energy that I don't know what to do with myself. Okay. So, but I'm just saying all that to say that's how much I drink coffee every single day. Okay. So when I go to Starbucks, there's a certain expectation that I have when I go to Starbucks because of their brand promise, right? So when I go to Starbucks and if I order a drink, don't y'all laugh at me because I'm getting ready to tell y'all something that I don't usually share with people, okay? So don't talk about me when I tell y'all this, okay? So when I go to Starbucks, when I order my drink, first of all, if I'm paying anywhere between $7 and $8, sometimes even $9 for my drink, and you hand me a cup that's a white cup and it has brown smudges on the side, I always ask them for another cup. Nicole says, okay, Nicole. I always ask for another cup because I'm like, that's messing with my experience. When I come to Starbucks, I expect the nice clean cup and no smudges on it. I don't want to drink out of this cup with this drink that I just paid $9 or $10 for. And it has brown smudges all on the side. So if there's smudges on the side, I always say, can I have another cup? And Nicole says, for $10, you should. So I asked for another cup to put on the outside of that cup. And that's because of their brand. Like I have certain expectations, right? And so what happens when you're building your brand, people come to have certain expectations of you, of your brand. If you're building your brand to a sense where when people come to your page, when they're interacting with you on Instagram or whatever platforms you are, if you share a lot of content like how I do, like when people attend my trainings, they expect a lot of information because that's just my style. That's just how I do things. That has become an expectation. When people hang out with me, I'm giving the value, I'm dropping the nuggets. Okay. People, and that's what happens when you're building a brand. Okay. So in your game plans, everything I do around reinforcing or proving my promise is branding. Okay. Everything I do around reinforcing or proving my promise is branding. When you're branding, when you're building that brand, everything that you do is reinforcing that promise. From how you interact with people, from the content that you're putting out, the videos that you're doing, and everything that you're putting out in the open should line up with that promise. Because you have to train your audience to understand what your brand is about. And that takes time, right? So that process, some people think branding is a one-time thing. Branding is an ongoing process. It continues. It doesn't stop at one thing, right? One point. When your website is done, that's not your brand being finished, right? When you choose your colors, that's not your brand being done. And people say, "Oh, I'm doing a brand, a rebrand." And sometimes, that's something that's required. But a lot of times when people say that, what they mean is I'm changing up my colors and changing up how my design looks or the aesthetic of my brand, right? Your brand should be a living movement, meaning you shift and move with when your audience is shifting and moving. We've seen what happens when a brand does not shift and move with their audiences, right? Y'all know when I was in high school, I used to go to Blockbuster, like that was the thing, right? Blockbuster was the thing. Like you would go to Blockbuster and get the VHS tapes, and then you would have an amazing Friday night. I used to go in there. I used to buy the tape. I used to get a tape, and I used to buy the popcorn that they used to sell in there, and I used to get my little movie theater like candy and just have a great Friday night. But what happened when the Red Box and then Netflix and all those things started coming out? Some of those video places, well, really all of them, started to phase out because they did not shift and move with their audience. So we got to the point where we were like, oh, wait a minute. You mean I could just watch this same movie instead of going to the video store? I could watch it online, or I could just walk up to this box and get it for $1. Oh my goodness. Things started to change, right? And they did not change with the times. Your brand is a living movement, meaning you have to constantly be on the pulse, have your hand on the pulse of what's happening in your niche. So let me just give you an example of something that's happening in our niche right now with in the coaching and the mentorship space. Right now, because of the iOS updates, ads are costing a lot more money than what they used to. So I used to write Facebook ads as a done for you service. I don't do that anymore. I didn't really enjoy it when I was doing it, but I used to write Facebook ads as a done for you service. And you used to be able to run a Facebook ads and get leads for just on the cheap. Now it's costing upwards of $30 per lead, all the way up to $300 per lead, because of the iOS update. Okay, so let me know. Do you know what happened with the iOS update? Let me know in the comments. Do you understand what happened with the iOS update? Because if you don't, I'm going to break it down for you so you understand. Okay, so let me know in the comments. Do you understand what happened with the iOS update? If y'all understand, I won't take your time in explaining it. But if you don't understand, I'm going to explain it for you so that you understand what's going on. Okay, somebody says no. Nicole, no. Okay. Okay, so what happened with the iOS update is Apple came out and said, first let me explain how Facebook ads work. Have y'all ever went to a website? I do this all the time. Have you ever went to a website to shop for something and then you didn't check out or you didn't buy anything, and then you went on Facebook and then you saw the same thing that you were just looking at? Let me know in the comments. Have you ever went to a website and then you hopped on Facebook and you were like, oh, wow, I was just looking at this thing. Okay. Somebody said, yep. Yes. Okay. Now, the reason why that happens is because there's this little thing called a pixel. And what happens is Facebook has a pixel code that you can put on your website. So this pixel is like a little tracking code. So when you go to a website and then you come back on Facebook, these people have they've written their Facebook ads to say, hey Facebook, anytime somebody comes to my page, show them this ad. That is why when you click on something and you go back to Facebook, you see it right in your face because of that pixel code that can track you. Okay. Now that Nicole said, Big Brother watching. So what happens is for marketers, from the marketer standpoint, it's helpful for us because we can see certain things. Well, we're not privy to everything that happens with it. We don't see exactly who's clicking and who's doing what. However, Facebook does, like Nicole said. So, for example, this is how it benefits marketers. If I'm running an ad and I'm saying, hey, come to my Brand and Demand Bootcamp, and you click on the Brand and Demand Bootcamp, but you don't sign up, I can say, hey, Facebook, everybody who clicks on the Brand and Demand Bootcamp page but doesn't sign up, send them this ad. And then you see an ad from me saying, hey, Nicole, I noticed you were on the Brand and Demand Bootcamp page, but you didn't sign up. I just want to let you know that there are 3 more days until we launch. That's how that works, okay? So that enabled us as marketers to come back and get people who maybe they were just distracted. Maybe they intended to sign up, but maybe they were distracted. Or maybe they intended to buy this product, but maybe they were distracted. And that's called retargeting. And so with the retargeting ads, people were able to come back and get those leads, and they were able to come back and close those sales because that ad was put back in front of them, okay? Now, with the iOS update, what happened is anybody with an iPhone or anybody who's using an Apple device can opt out of that. They can say, don't track don't track what I'm doing. So for the person who's opting out, it's great for them, right? Because they don't have to see certain advertisements. But for us, all of us who are marketers, and all of you are, if you're in any kind of business, you are a marketer, okay? For us as marketers, it's like, oh my goodness, we have no way of knowing who went to the website. So for example, now a person who has opted out, if they go to a specific website, they can search and they'll go back to Facebook and they won't see that advertisement. So you can imagine the impact that it's having on businesses, okay? Here's another big impact that the iOS update had on us. Another thing, it's also changing. Now we're gonna have a hard time seeing who opened our emails. So now we can't even track who's opening our emails. And that makes a big difference as well. So the other thing that happened with the iOS update is it takes a while for Facebook to learn. When you run a Facebook ad, it takes a little time for Facebook to learn who's going to respond to your ad, okay? It could take 2 days, it could take 3 days, it could take a week. Well, usually it takes a good, maybe I would say a good 2 weeks for Facebook to start figuring out who's going to respond to your ad. Excuse me. So what's happening now? So during that 2 weeks, let's say if you're doing $100 a day, that's $1,400 that you're spending while Facebook is figuring things out. Facebook is, if you're saying, Facebook, show my ad to people who like Starbucks, like me, right? Show my ad to people who like Starbucks. And so what's happening is Facebook is saying, okay, I'm finding people who like Starbucks, but there's a certain group within the group of people who like Starbucks who are actually clicking on this ad. So let me find more of them. And then Facebook starts to find more people who are more likely to respond to your ad. So by the 3rd week, your ad starts to do better. Well, what's happening now with the iOS update is taking longer for Facebook to learn who's going to respond to your ad because Facebook does not have access to a ton of data because people can now opt out of tracking. Okay, so now there's your crash course in the iOS update. So now you can understand how difficult it is for marketers now because now they have really just thrown a wrench into everything. And so what's happening now is people have to learn a new way to market, okay? And this is what I'm talking to my clients about every single day is you got to learn how to shift and move with your audience, with your market, with your niche. Okay, so we talk about other strategies that you can use outside of ads. Okay, you don't need there's ways to get clients without using ads. Okay, and when you're not using ads, that's called organic. So when you see something that says organic reach or organic, or I see some people that say, well, I teach coaches how to get clients organically. That means they're showing you how to do it without ads, without paying for ads. Okay, and I teach that also because I want my client, I teach them how to write ads too. I teach them Facebook ads because I want them to understand how to do it. And then when they hire someone, they know enough to make sure that person is doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. So I do teach ads, but I also teach them how to get clients organically so that they don't have to pay for ads because it's just so expensive right now. Okay. So, so that's an example of having your hand on the pulse of what's happening in your market. Okay. You have to understand what's going on in your niche. Okay. So, in your game plans, a purposeful and profitable brand is number one, is authentic to you. Okay. So, you can write in your game plans, it's authentic to me. It feels good to you. It's what you do naturally. You're welcome. It's what you do naturally. It's what you're passionate about. These things come easy to you. Now, there are certain things about your business that are not going to come easy to you. That's what any entrepreneur. There's certain things that we love and certain things it's like, oh, I don't really like this part. But that comes along with the package, right? A purposeful and profitable brand is you being authentic. You do not have to be anyone who you are not. I promise you, there are going to be people who love you for your personality. If you have like a quirky sense of humor, your audience is going to love it. If you feel like your life is boring, I promise you, it's not. Your audience is going to love it. Okay. They'll be asking you, well, what kind of tea were you drinking when you were sitting by the water doing nothing? Your audience is going to love you for you. Okay. Now, what happens is when you start building your brand in a way that's purposeful, in a way that's authentic to you, you're going to attract people and you're going to repel people. It's going to do both. It's going to draw people to you and it's going to push people away. And that is perfectly okay. Because for me, I don't want to work with anybody who I'm not called to. Do you? I just want to work with the people who I'm called to. So if someone is turned off by me, if someone is like, I don't like Shanta's lipstick, I can't even listen to her, and you'll be surprised at some of the stuff that that people don't like. Okay, you'll be surprised. But if you're repelled by me, that means I'm not called to you, and I'm perfectly okay with that. So when you're building your personal brand, you have to keep that in mind. Yes, you're going to. I told you that some of you have the whole entire movements wrapped up inside of you. That when you start speaking, you're going to shake some things up. You are a mover and a shaker, and what's going to happen when you start shaking things up? More people are going to be drawn to you. Like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad Nicole started. I'm so glad somebody finally said this. I'm so glad Deshante finally started talking about this because I've been waiting for somebody who thinks this way. Okay. And some people are gonna say, oh my goodness, I cannot stand Nicole because she thinks she all that. you're gonna have that. So that's something to be aware of, right? And it's okay, it comes with the package. Okay. Number two, a purposeful and profitable brand is intentional. You're building this thing on purpose. You're looking for a very specific type of person who's going to need and want your services. Okay, it's very intentional and it's very strategic. Okay, number three, a purposeful and profitable brand is it generates income. It's an income generation machine. Okay, so you can be authentic, be intentional and specific, and make money. I promise you can. So when I got started, right now, you probably see me and you know I'm teaching you about branding, but I didn't start here. I actually I was in the Navy. I did 10 years on active duty in the Navy. And around about year 8, I started feeling like, oh, like I want to do something different, but I don't really know exactly what it is. But I just know whatever it is, I can't be in the Navy and do this thing. I start feeling this pull to get out, right? Because my contract was up and it took me 2 years to decide to get out of the Navy. So for 2 years, I just wrestled back and forth with the idea of getting out of the Navy. So I wanted to get out, but I felt like there's something that I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't really know what that something is yet. But I know I can't do it and be in the Navy. So I decided when my contract is up, I decided to get out of the Navy. So I got out of the Navy and I struggled so bad because I went from being a part of this organization where we all wore the same uniform, we all spoke the same language, we all wore our hair the same because of the regulations. And so, but I also was a part of this great organization who we all had the same mission, right? We're all working toward the same mission. And then here I am, I'm not in the Navy anymore, and I'm trying to figure out who I am without my uniform. When I tell you that was the biggest fight and the biggest struggle of my life, is trying to figure out who I am without my uniform. And it happens to so many of us. And for you, it may be something different. For me, it was getting out of the Navy and trying to figure out who I am without this uniform. But sometimes that thing shows up in different ways. It could be a divorce and you're trying to figure out who you are without the divorce. It could be you losing a job and you're trying to figure out who you are without this job. Because sometimes our identity gets wrapped up into what we're doing. Okay. Our identity gets wrapped up into what it is that we're doing. I was so into the mission of the Navy that I just did whatever was required of me. Now, I'm not speaking negatively about the Navy because I actually had a very great career and getting out was a very difficult decision. I actually loved being in the Navy. But one thing that I learned in the Navy is I learned how to be good at my job, but I didn't learn myself. And I was so busy like focusing on the mission that I didn't even know the things that I enjoyed. Like I had to work to figure out, well, what do I actually like to do? Because I'm just used to doing whatever the mission is required, whatever the mission requires of me. Okay. Whatever the mission required, that's what I was doing, right? When I first joined the Navy, I was sweeping the hallways and mopping the hallways. And I said, I did not sign up for this. I signed up to work with computers. But that was like in the beginning stages, right? But that was what the mission required of me, right? Somebody had to sweep the floors and it had to be me. Me along with two other buddies, right? And so I'm trying to figure out who I am without my uniform. And I'm just going through life and I'm praying and I'm like, God, you got to show me like, what am I supposed to be doing? What do I even enjoy doing? And so I'm trying to figure out my life, y'all. And I'm just as lost as I want to be trying to figure this thing out. And so I couldn't really do anything. I couldn't really move forward. I couldn't move to the left. I couldn't move to the right. Nothing felt right. Nothing felt right. And so I decided, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to go to school until I figure this thing out. So I started racking up on my college degrees. I ended up going to Regent University. I got my Master of Divinity from Regent University. And while I was in school, I started taking classes on coaching. And I got some coaching certifications. But a part of the process of getting my coaching certification was that I had to be coached. Okay. So, yep, while my life was in shambles, I was trying to figure out life. And here I am taking this coaching class. And meanwhile, the bills are starting to fall behind because I'm just lost trying to figure it out. Yeah, I could have went and got a job, but I was just stuck, y'all. Like I was just so stuck in life. And I could have went and just, got a job real quick or did this, but just nothing felt right. So meanwhile, we had went my household went from two incomes to one income. And I'm like just struggling on through life, trying to figure it out, right? So the bills are falling behind, the mortgage is falling behind, everything is falling behind. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to figure out how I'm gonna make money. I have to figure out my life. And guess what else? I was pregnant with a new baby, right? So I got pregnant with our first child. My husband and I, we were married for 7 years before our first child came. And so I have this new baby now, and I'm still trying to figure out life, right? And so that even puts the pressure on even more because I'm like, now I have a child to think about. And so I remember sitting in my coaching class, and my trainer was also my coach. So he was teaching me how to become a coach, right? And he was also coaching me. And so the first thing that he did was I don't know if any of you are considering life coaching. Now, this is for coaches and mentors, right? If you're a mentor, that's you teaching someone how to do what you've done, right? But coaching, you got to be skilled if you want to be like an actual coach, right? I'm not talking about like Here's another thing that's happening in our space. We've taken the term coach, right? Coach, and we've thrown a whole bunch of stuff under the title of coach, like teaching, mentoring, masterminding. We just throw that all under the term coach, right? But an actual coach is really skilled at asking powerful questions to draw things out of you. And if can I just tell you that it's one of the most vulnerable things I've ever done. When you have a good coach, they know what to ask you to pull the things out of you, the stuff that you didn't even know that was in you, right? So through that process of being coached, he was able to draw things out of me that I didn't even know were in me, right? Because of the questions that he was asking. And so he helped me to actually figure out what I actually enjoy doing. So this was in our one-on-one session. And it got down to it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like oh yeah, I love teaching, right? This is how I figured it out. I love teaching. I looked back on my time in the Navy and I thought about how everywhere I went, I always got stuck with the training job as a side. We have what's called collateral duties. That means this is the extra stuff that you do outside of your main job. Okay. And so one of my collateral duties was I always got stuck with the training job everywhere I went. And I'm like, why do I get stuck with this training job everywhere I go? And then I started to kind of enjoy it. And so I had one time, one of my well, I'm gonna say boss for those of you who don't have military experience. One of my bosses called me in his office and he said, listen, he said, we can't afford to send everybody to this class, so we're going to send you. And then we want you to come back and teach what you learned to everybody else. That should have been the clue, right? Like, okay, I'm pretty good at this thing. Listen, sometimes people will recognize your gifts before you recognize your own gifts. Okay. And that could be dangerous because people could use you because you don't even realize that this is a gift that people will pay you for. Okay. So anyway, so I figured out that I love to teach. And so then that was one piece to the puzzle. So I figured this thing out. I'm like, okay, I love this. I love teaching. And then I started saying to myself, how can I do this thing that I love so much and make money? I'm like, I still got to find a job. I got to pay my bills. My bills are behind. I'm gonna be homeless if I don't do something, right? And so the next day I was sitting in class and the coach trainer was teaching and he said, you guys, I have a lot of classes available. He said, you guys can teach these classes for income if you want to. And y'all, it hit me like a ton of bricks. The words teach for income stood out to me in such a big way. And I was like, teach for income. So I'm coming out of the Navy, y'all. This teaching teaching, mentoring, coaching, all of that stuff was new to me. Right. So I did not know that people were actually making money sharing their knowledge. So it was totally new to me. Okay. As a matter of fact, not only was I in the Navy, I spent most of my naval career overseas, Japan, Italy, going to other countries. So this was all new to me. So when he said teach for income, I was like, oh my gosh, teach for income. That's what I'm going to do. But now I got to figure out how I'm going to do it. You guys, I sat in that classroom and I cried because I said, if I figure out how to teach for income, I'm never going to have to worry about money again. And I sat there and I just bawled my eyes out because I said, I'm going to figure this thing out. And I'm never going to have to worry about money again. Why? Because I love this thing. I can do this all day, all night. So if I can do what I love and get paid to do it, I'm never worrying about money again, ever. Okay. And so once I started getting into it, I kept saying, oh, I need to know how to package myself. At the time, I did not know that was called branding. I just kept saying, I need to know how to package myself so that I can, get out here and start sharing my knowledge. Right. And so at the time, I didn't know, okay, that's actually called branding. Right. So I started investing in myself. And I've been investing in myself for years and years and years and years. Okay. But that was the beginning of me investing in myself as far as business. I had always went to conferences, Christian conferences to get into those scriptures, but I had never invested in a business conference. So I started investing in myself from that point on. And I said to myself, I wonder how many other women want to do this. How many other women out there don't want to have to choose between what their purpose is and what they're designed to do and then doing something that just pays the bills. I said, how many women just want to make money doing what they love to do instead of just choosing a job just to get by, just a job that you're miserable at, where your coworkers don't even don't even like you and you don't like them. How many women want to be able to make money doing what they enjoy doing? Okay. And so I said, I'm on a mission now. So now I'm on a mission because I'm like, I want to help other women who want to make their brands around what they're already designed to do, what they're already good at, and make money doing that. So it doesn't feel like work. And you never have to worry about money again because you love this stuff and you're passionate about it. That's what purposeful branding is all about. Okay. Building a brand that's lined up with your gifts and your passion and what you're put on this earth to do. Okay. So now I help women to create high ticket offers. And then I teach them how to sell them. Okay. And there's a reason we're going to get into it a little bit later on this one, but there's a reason why I specifically focus on high ticket offers. Okay. And just to give you a little quick commercial, it's mostly because with high ticket, you need low volume. Okay. Meaning you only need a few people to reach your goal. If you want to make a certain amount of money, selling high ticket offers gets you there faster. Okay. Everyone who is listening to me right now, you can have a high ticket offer. Okay. So I remember being on the other side thinking, well, what do people put in like those kind of offers? Like, what do they sell? Like, who's paying for that? Right. The first time somebody paid me $497 in full, I was blown away. And then I launched the same program again, and somebody paid me $1,997 in full, and I was blown away again because I'm coming out of the Navy, and I'm like, who has money like that? Like, who has money just laying around like that? Right? The money is out there. You just have to create a vehicle to bring it to you. Okay. You have to have a vehicle to bring the wealth to you. Okay. That's why I focus on high ticket offers, because you can work less. Because listen, we have families, we have spouses, we have things that we want to do. We've got stuff that we want to accomplish on our own time. And so with a high ticket offer, you can work less and make more. Okay. And you don't need a whole lot of clients to reach your income goals. Okay. So today, that's what I do. I help women to build their personal brands. I help them to create high ticket offers, and then I show them how to sell it so they can get some paying clients. All right. So now, if you're worried about your brand and you're trying to figure out, okay, how in the world am I going to stand out? How many of you, let me know in the comments, how many of you have somebody who's already talking about what you want to talk about, or who's already doing what you want to do? Let me know in the comments if you've seen somebody talking about what you do. Or have you seen somebody doing what you want to do, or something similar? Let me know in the comments. So, okay, somebody says yes. Okay. So if you are one of those people, you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this when there are 10,000 people already talking about what I'm talking about? Okay. How am I going to stand out? Have you ever asked yourself that? Listen, it's too many people out here doing what I'm doing. How am I going to stand out? Okay. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about in your game plans. I want you to think about the things about you that help you to build a unique and personal brand. I'm going to give you a lot of different things that's going to help you to stand out, so you can know for sure that you're going to be different. Okay. So in your game plans, under things about me that will help me to build a unique personal brand. Number one, your gifts. Your gifts are going to help you to build a unique personal brand. Why? Because even if they're talking about what you're talking about, they do not have the same gifts as you. Okay. I teach on branding. I have a friend who also teaches on branding, but we teach different things around branding. We just have different gifts, right? And she's amazing at what she does, and I'm amazing too, right? And that's how you have to see it. They're amazing, but I'm also amazing too, right? And we really have this, I'm telling y'all, community over competition. Whew, is the way to go. Listen, this thing is going to set you free when you understand that there really is no real competition, right? Because everybody is different. The way that you do what you do is going to be different, right? And if no one has told you this yet, I'm going to tell you right now that nobody can do what you do the way that you do it. No one. That is why, even though there's already 10,000 people talking about what you talk about, you still need to talk about it. Because no one's going to talk about it the way you talk about it. No one's going to deliver it the way that you deliver it. Somebody is waiting on you to do it the way that you do it. Okay. Yes, our gifts make room for us. Yes to community over competition. Yes, anointed for the call. We absolutely are. Okay. Your gifts. Number two, your personality. I have a client who she was concerned about her delivery because she said, "Well, people say I come off as harsh," and I'm like, "No, your delivery is fine. If they're complaining about how harsh you come off, they're not your ideal clients. Those are not your people. Your people are going to be like, yes, I need somebody to be hard on me. I need the boot camp type of coach." Some people need that. Some people want the coach that feels like they're the girlfriend, right? That like they're friends. Some people want the coach that's going to get on them if they're not reaching their goals, if they're not doing what they say they're going to do. Some people need that kind of accountability, right? Okay. Your personality, number two. Number three, your perspective is going to make you stand out. Let me know in the comments how many of you have seen a guru teaching something or doing something, and you're like, no way. It does not have to be like that. All you got to do is A, B, and C. Or you've seen someone teaching something that doesn't quite line up with how you teach it or how you do it. And you're like, that's not quite true. Deshante says, yep. Okay. Now, that's what I mean by your perspective. Some people are going to be drawn to you because of your perspective, right? Don't be afraid to have a different perspective, because that's what your brand is all about, right? Your perspective is going to make a difference. You've seen the ads where you see one person saying, "I just made $1 million on a webinar." And then you see another ad that says, "Webinars are dead. Do this instead." And you see another person saying, "Well, you can do this without doing a live launch." And then you see another person over here saying, "I just made $10 million doing live launches." Right? So what that really is just people, different things work well for different people. And the way that I see it, you don't have to necessarily trash someone's method in order to make yours look superior, right? Because when you start speaking, people are going to be like, "Yes, this is what I want to hear," right? This is what I want to hear. Okay? Now, you have to find out what your perspective is. If you don't agree with how somebody else is doing something, you teach it and do it the way that you do it. And it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to say, "You know what? There are other ways to get clients other than live launches." If you don't agree with live launches. Now, I personally love live launches because I like to teach. So, but if you're like, "Well, there's a better way to do it," right? So I try to make sure my clients are well-rounded in their understanding of the different strategies that they can use to get clients. I have one client, she does not necessarily like being on video. I have a couple of other clients, they go live all the time, right? I have one client who's on Clubhouse every single day, right? So it just depends on what's going to work for you, but they're equipped with different strategies, right? For how they can get clients. The other thing that's going to set you apart is your message. Your message. And let me give you a big clue. Your message usually comes from your life. Okay. I just told you my story. My message is all about women creating businesses around their purpose and what they're already designed to do. That is my message. Like, I'm gonna help you build that coaching or mentorship brand around who you already are. You don't need anything extra. You don't need anything more. Okay. Your message is going to help you to stand out. The other thing that's going to help you to stand out is your audience. Your audience is going to help you stand out, because if I talk about branding and you talk about branding, but you only work with a certain type of person and I work with a different kind of person, that sets us apart as well. Okay. For example, you'll see some people who they only work with they put it in their marketing. They only work with Christians, right? They'll say Christian coach. I work with Christian coaches, helping them to do A, B, and C, right? So you'll see that in some people's marketing. Okay. Now, I'm a Christian too. I'm a believer too. However, you don't really quite see it in my marketing where I say I only work with Christians. Okay. But some people, that's what they're called to do. That's what they're called to do. And this is something that I was just talking about this last night. This is something that I'm working on for myself as well, because one of the things that I feel like I'm being called to teach is to teach Christian business women how to hear from God in their businesses, how to operate in the prophetic. Okay. So y'all pray for me on that one, because That's something that I'm seeing how to also develop as well. Is a prophetic school where we're talking about how to use the prophetic in business, how to hear the voice of God in business. Okay, but that's something that's one of the gifts that I have that sets me apart. Okay. Number 6, your style of delivery is also going to set you apart. If you are introverted, you may come off as differently as some other people. I'm a huge introvert, believe it or not. But the difference with me is I'm an introvert, but I'm not shy. Okay, not all introverts are shy. I'm not shy at all. But I listen after engaging with people, I need to go and like get in the corner and be by myself so I can recharge. But I'm not shy. But if you're shy, if you're introverted and shy, you may come off as a little bit different. Your style of delivery may be different. I have one client who she's very vocal and she has a big personality. And so that's how she shows up, but that's her style of delivery and her people love her for it, okay? So your style of delivery is also going to set you apart, okay? Another thing, number 7, what else is going to set you apart? Your brand, make you stand out is your expertise. Your expertise is going to help you to stand out. One area of my expertise is I have expertise in technology because when I was in the Navy, I was in IT for 10 years. So I work with computers, I work with routers, I work with the internet, I work with all kinds of different things around technology. So that's a part of my expertise that sets me apart because guess what? When my clients are struggling with something technological, I can solve the problem pretty quickly. Okay. I remember one time I called GoDaddy. Either I call GoDaddy or HostGator. Those are the two. I use GoDaddy to buy my websites, and I use HostGator for my website hosting. And I called them for something, and they were like, "Oh, that's going to be $200 for us to do that for you." Do y'all know I got off the phone and did it for myself in less than 5 minutes? Less than 5 minutes. My husband was like, "Did you just do what they said they was going to charge you to?" I was like, "Yeah, I just did it. I just did it in less than 5 minutes." And so that is a part of my expertise that sets me apart. Okay. Now, number 8. This is my favorite. Okay. The 8th thing that's going to help you to stand out is your story. Your story. That thing that you feel like, okay, I'm not saying like you got to air all your dirty laundry, right? That's not what I'm telling you because I'm going to teach you how to tell your story in just a few minutes. Okay. That thing that you feel like you failed at or that thing that you struggled in, that's going to become a part of your story. Okay. No one has the exact same story as you. So your story needs to be a part of your brand. Okay. Not like I said, not airing all your dirty laundry. I do not believe in that. I do not believe you have to stand up and confess your whole past to people and every single place where you failed or made mistakes. I don't agree with that. However, when you tell your story in a way that helps people to understand you and why you do what you do, that's attractive. It's magnetic. People are drawn to you because of it. I'll never forget that when I did an event, an in-person event before, it was a long time ago. And these two ladies showed up and they were like, "We didn't even know what the event was about. We just came because we saw that you were a veteran." And I just chuckled so hard, but they came and they participated. And it was just awesome because they were like, "We just saw that you were a veteran and we wanted to come." That's a part of being a veteran is a part of my story, right? And that drew some people in. I had another client who she was one of my pay in full clients, and she said to me, she said, I really like what you said because I know that you were in the military, and I really like that you said that how you're gonna be able to help me to do the work." So that was just a part of something that she saw in me that she was like, "Oh my goodness, I like that. I want to work with her." Okay. So your story is going to set you apart. Now, I'm going to tell you how to tell your story in a way that does not air your dirty laundry, but in a way that inspires people. It gets your audience excited about working with you. Okay. Remember what we said, the ones you're called to. Okay. Now, when you tell your story, this is how you're going to tell your story. Number 1, you're going to talk about where you started at. Okay. Then number 2, you're going to talk about when did things start to change. Okay. Number 3, you're going to talk about what was it like after that change. Okay. Number 4, you're gonna talk about what made you take action. What made you get up? Number 5, how did you turn your situation around? And then number 6, you're gonna talk about what it's like right now. Okay. Number 1, where did it start? Talk about where you started. So in your game plan, you can write where I started. Number 2, when it changed. Number 3, what it was like after that change. Number 4, what made you get up? What made you take action? Number 5, how did you turn it around? Number 6, what is it like now? This is how you tell your story that allows people to see who you are and get to know you. Because guess what? These days, we're not paying people if we don't trust them or we don't feel like we know them. People want to feel like they know you in some way and feel. Now, I'm not going to say this is in every single circumstance. My client, one of my clients is on Clubhouse daily, and she's closing sales. She's closing quite a few sales because she's on Clubhouse. But because people have been listening to her on Clubhouse, and they feel connected to her, they feel like they know her and they trust her because some of them have been listening to her for a while, and she's built that trust. Okay, so if you're trying to figure out, well, girl, you just told me how to tell my story, but I still can't figure it out. Go back to my story. I modeled it for you when I told you my story. I told you where I started. I told you I was in the Navy. And then I told you I started feeling like I need to get out because I wanted to do something different, but I didn't know what that different was. Okay. And then I told you I decided at the end of my contract to get out. That was the change. I told you what it was like. I said I was trying to figure out my purpose, and I was trying to find out who I am without my uniform, and all of my bills was falling behind. And I was like, I got to figure this thing out, right? So what made me take action was I started to figure out what my purpose is. I started to figure out that I love to teach, and I started really understanding what my gifts are. And the reason why I really wanted to change things was because I wanted to figure out how I can do what I love to do and make money doing it so that I didn't have to choose between that and a job. And then I told you I turned it around by starting to invest in myself. I started investing in myself over and over and over again. Okay. And then I told you what it's like now that today I'm helping women to create their high ticket offers, build their personal brands, and get paying clients. Okay. So when you tell your story, you want to tell it in a way that inspires people. Here's my biggest tip when it comes to telling your story. Never leave your audience down in the dumps when you tell your story. If I had left y'all at my bills was falling behind and I couldn't pay for anything and I was just so frustrated, and we went from 2 incomes to 1 income. If I left y'all there, we would all be crying right now. We would all be crying, we would all be depressed because I left y'all in the dumps. So when you tell your story, you always want to tell how you turned it around. Okay? Who does not love a good comeback story? Don't we all love a good comeback story? Y'all, if y'all pay attention to the songs that really made the hits, y'all, the biggest songs back in the day that became hits were songs about the underdog winning, right? The comeback songs. That's why we love those songs so much, that make us feel good. We love a good comeback story. So you have to be able to tell your story in a way that inspires people. Never leave your people down in the dumps, okay? Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm just give you an example. So, if you're just meeting me, I actually was I was on TV. I was on the Food Network, and I competed in a grilling competition. And okay, so the reason why I did that is because I have another business where I sell I have a spice company where we have our first product that we sell as it's a barbecue rub that started out as a recipe, and we've turned it into a retail product, and pretty soon we'll be on some grocery store shelves. So but we're selling online, but pretty soon we're going to be on grocery store shelves. But that's the whole reason why I went on this Food Network grilling competition. Y'all, there were 3 of us competing against each other. The first 2 rounds, I got the lowest scores. The first 2 rounds. When I went into the 3rd round, I was losing, and my competitors were tied in front of me, ahead of me. I went into the 3rd round, and I cooked this dish and used my rub that I sell as a retail product. I mixed the rub up on the show and used the rub on my dish, got the highest score out of anybody that was on my show, and then won the competition. When I tell y'all that so many people were like, I was crying. Like they were like, you had me crying. Why? Because of the comeback. Because the girl who was losing for the first 2 rounds came back and won the whole show. Okay. And the prize was an outdoor kitchen. So they came to my house and they put an outdoor kitchen in my backyard. And somebody told me that was the biggest prize I've ever seen the Food Network give. Right? We love a good comeback story. We love it. Okay. So make sure when you tell your story, you're talking about the comeback, how you came back. Okay. If you're in something right now, you need to wait till you come out of it. Okay. It's okay if you're in something right now and you say, okay, this is what I'm going through right now, but I'm working on it. This is how I'm working on it. Make sure that you're out of the test before you give the testimony, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So when you're telling your story, don't leave people down in the dumps. Make sure you tell them about the comeback so that they can understand, wait a minute, if she did it, I can do it too. If she came out of that, if she turned it around, I know I can turn it around too. Okay. All right. So today, that's so I've covered everything on in your worksheets, in your game plan. Today's homework assignment is to come up with 3 topics around your business that you are great at talking about and that you enjoy. Okay. We're talking about building a purposeful brand around what you're great at doing, what you enjoy doing, because business does not have to be dreadful. We can actually enjoy this stuff. We can actually wake up like, yes, I get to work with these people, right? It does not have to be dreadful. So write down 3 topics around your business that you are great at talking about and that you enjoy talking about. Because on day 3, I'm going to teach you how to create amazing content around those topics, okay? But you got to do the homework today so that when we get to day 3, you can actually go ahead and create your topics, okay? So inside of the Facebook group, you can go ahead and post your response. If you're not watching me from inside of the Facebook group right now, come on over and join us. Type in Purpose-Driven Coaches and Mentors and you'll find us. And if you're watching me outside of the Facebook group right now, you can sign up for this bootcamp at brandindemandbootcamp.com. Okay. But that's not for those of you who are already signed up and you're already in the group. Okay. All right, y'all. Today has been amazing. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Thank you for all of your comments and your feedback. Tomorrow is going to be great because I'm going to help you with your brand messaging tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow is when I actually get into the comments and help you to tweak your brand messaging, help you with the wording of things, and help you to make sure your messaging is on point. So that's what we're going to be working on tomorrow. So make sure you get your homework in tonight. And on day 3, we're going to be using that. And remember when I told you everything is going to build up on one another, right? So today is the first layer. Tomorrow we're gonna dive into the second layer. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me in Messenger, or you can post it inside of the group because somebody else may have that question. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Okay. This was a blessing. Thank you for pouring into us. Thank you so much. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. I will see y'all inside of the group, and then I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same place for session 2. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you soon.